say is that we have developed a tradition over the last 14 years of inviting some famous athletes to the race. And this morning I don't have time to list all of those athletes, but you might like to just hear some of the names of our guests who've been with us. I'll start with our Kenyan VIPs, Paul Turgat and Catherine Ndereba, Elliot Kipchoge. From Britain we've had Paula Ratcliffe and Mo Farah. We've had Sonia O'Sullivan, Gabriella Sabo, Carolina Kluft, Hisham El Garouche, and for those of you who'd like to go back a little bit further, Brendan Foster, Dave Moorcroft, Mirab Ziyifta, Ingrid Christensen, Rosa Mota. And I haven't named all of our guests, but you'll see that all of those guests have one thing in common. They are all either a world champion, an Olympic champion, or a world record holder. And today we have the privilege of welcoming two more global champions to our event. One of them is a two-time world champion, and the other is a two-time world champion and Olympic champion. And I just have one important announcement before I bring them to the stage. Emily has already just said about the photographers. Just to honour everyone else in the room, could I ask the photographers not to come forward to take pictures as soon as we bring them onto the stage? I hope that's understood. Otherwise, the people who are sitting will not see our guests. We will have a photo opportunity with our guests, with Haile, at the end. Thank you. Our first guest. I'd like to take you back 18 years to 1996. The World Cross Country Championships were taking place in South Africa. Haile competed in the senior men's race and finished 5th. The race was won, I think, by Salahisu. In the women's race, an Ethiopian won, Getarani. In the junior women's race, an Ethiopian won. And in that junior race, there was a 16-year-old Kenyan girl called Edna Kiplagat. That was 18 years ago, in 1996. She finished 5th in the World Junior Championships. Let me take you on 9 years. Edna, then a 16-year-old, has become a 25-year-old. And she decides to run her first marathon. She runs her first marathon in Las Vegas. Some of you here are marathon runners. You will know that the time of 2 hours and 50 minutes is not a world-class time. That was Edna's time for her first marathon 9 years ago. Let me take you on to Moscow, 2013. Edna Kiplagat defends her world title at the marathon. So our first guest that I'd like to bring up onto stage is a two-time world champion at the marathon from Kenya, Edna Kiplagat. Edna, it's great to have you here. This is your first time in Ethiopia. Let's just go back to when you were 16 years old, in 1996. You ran in the same competition as Haile. Did you know who Haile was when you were a 16-year-old?
Yes. I knew Haile when I was in South Africa because when I was in camp, they used to show us some videos that the great athletes and one of the best races which I saw was Haile's races, especially in cross country and track in 10,000 meters. So I knew Haile was a great athlete, and so when I was in South Africa, I knew he was strong.
And you have one or two favourite races of Haile when you were a youngster, when you were growing up. Can you just tell us any of the memorable races where you were watching Haile, probably competing against some other great Kenyan runners?
One of the memorable race which I still remember, and I not forget his 10,000 meters race in Seoul when he was pushed by Kenyan guy Machuka.
Great. So, Edna, we talked a little bit about Haile. Let's talk a little bit about yourself. You've run 12 marathons. Your big races have been in the big city marathons, but probably even bigger marathons have been in the World Championships. So I referred to Moscow, but 2 years before that you had won the World Championship in Daegu, and then you went back as the defending champion in 2013, and you became the first female athlete ever to defend that marathon title at the World Championships. I know how hard that race was because you were up against some very strong Ethiopians, the Olympic champion Tikigalana, Abu Kepeda, Meselech Melfamu, and some very strong Kenyans. Just tell us what it was like to defend that World Championship title.
Yes, it was a great experience when I went to Moscow. I was prepared because I knew that the team was so strong. So I wanted to defend the title because defending the title is a great experience and it's something that you will never forget. So I wanted to be the first woman to defend the title for the first time. And I also, as a role model, I wanted to, it's a lesson even to the young generation that it's not hard to prepare well and go and defend the title.
Right. Edna, one of the reasons that I wanted to take you and the audience back to 1996 was to make the point that the older you get, the better you get. Because it seems now that every marathon you do, you get better. And we talked about your World Championship titles, but earlier this year, Edna won the London Marathon. She has run in the London Marathon on 4 occasions. In 2011, she was second. In 2012, she was second. In 2013, she was second in the London Marathon. And this year, at the 4th time of trying, she won the London Marathon. And I think you can see that as Edna's career has gone on, she's now in her mid-30s, she's getting better and better. And I've got one more question for you before I ask you that final question. I think it would be quite nice for us just to watch Edna in action. It's from one of the big races that Nova International organises. Just 6 weeks ago, Edna was back in action on the streets of Glasgow, and we're just going to watch a very short clip of Edna coming into the finish, trying to catch one of the fast male runners in the field.
So we're around 67.56 unofficially for Edna Gebresellasie, who, as you can see, while looking back down the home straight with Caroline Canelo.
So Edna, that was I think 7 weeks ago, back in Scotland. Could we just talk about your future plans? What are your hopes and what are your goals looking into next year and over the coming years?
For me, I tried to run the Olympic and I didn't do it, so my future is maybe next time, especially next year, is World Championship season. I'll try to go and defend for the third time, people sport, and then I'm still looking forward to win a medal in the Olympics.
Okay. Well, we really wish you all the best for next summer in Beijing. We'll be watching you at the World Championships. Hope that it will be an amazing achievement to win for a 3rd time. You might like to know that Edna is here in Ethiopia with her husband, Gilbert, and their children, Carlos and Wendy, and a very warm welcome to them. Gilbert is, in Kenyan terms, he's quite an ordinary athlete. For any of us who are not from Kenya, we will recognise that with a best time of 27 minutes and 31 seconds, Gilbert, as a husband, is a world-class international athlete. He was actually in the race when Kenenisa Bekele broke the world record in Hengelo a number of years ago. So, Gilbert, a big welcome to you. My final question, Edna, is that there are lots of Kiplagats in world running. There's Laura Kiplagat, there's William Kiplagat, there's Florence Kiplagat. Are you all related?
We are not related, but what it means, what it means is the children who are born between 9 and 11 p.m. all are called Kiplagats.
Good. Well, Edna, I'm going to just ask you to stay on the stage, and we're now going to introduce our second guest. To do this, I do need you to picture one thing. If you were to be down at the Guillaume Hotel, some of you will know the Guillaume Hotel, it's 50 metres long. That's, I think, where you got married, wasn't it, Haile? Yeah. Okay. Olympic-sized swimming pool. So it's a 50-metre pool. If I were to ask you to swim 30 lengths of the Guillaume pool, and then get out of the pool, and then cycle from the Guillaume down to Gebresellasie, cycle, and then get off your bike and run 10 kilometres. I wonder how long that would take you. Swim 1,500 metres, bike 40 kilometres, and then run 10 kilometres. Well, the world's top triathletes take about 1 hour and 50 minutes, sometimes a little bit under 1 hour and 50 minutes. And we're privileged today to have not one of the world's best triathletes, but Alistair, with Edna, I'd like to talk about your achievements, but I'd like to start with a similar question. What are your memories of watching Haile as you were growing up? Do you have any memories of some of Haile's big races?
The one that stands out, the first real Olympics I really watched was obviously Sydney in 12. It was actually the first Olympics the triathlon I did. And I remember you just winning and not being entirely sure who would win at the end. But yeah, that's a big memory. And then I remember, was it the World Championships in Paris in 2003? Yes. And then you were struggling with a bit of an injury, and I remember that being really sad because the two of you who were running the race were running off, but they almost didn't at one point, so I remember that as well.
So Haile's a little bit younger than Edna, so he was a 12-year-old when Haile won his second Olympic title 14 years ago. We're now going to switch to Alistair, and Teddy, could we have a short clip watching Alistair win his Olympic title in London 2 years ago?
We're watching the world's best battling it out. With the prospects as 15-second penalty still to come, Brother and Gomez to fight for gold and silver. The Briton was the stronger runner and proved it, racing away to win by 11 seconds. And despite that stop-start penalty, Jonathan Brownlee, the bronze.
Yes, I mean, Alistair, that's a very interesting point. Why is it that the world's best triathletes, when they come across the finish line, usually just jog over, whereas when we watch Haile and Edna coming into the finish, they're still sprinting flat out?
Well, in triathlon, you're never ever going for a time, really. The courses are never particularly accurate, and it's not really worth putting any particular anything in how fast you do the course. So you're not really trying to cross the line as fast as you can. Once you've won, you've won. And it's the kind of thing that's always been done in triathlon. It's not just no disrespect to the other athletes. It's just kind of, I suppose, celebrating it and enjoying it, and not being in a rush across the finish line.
So I want to ask you a question that I'm sure has been asked many times to you, but there is no one else in this room who has won an Olympic title in their own country. Alistair, how does it feel, or how did it feel when you won in London your first Olympic title?
Well, the race itself was very noisy. We were looking up to have hundreds of thousands of spectators. It was incredibly noisy, incredible crowd. And though I was a bit worried really going into it, what they'd be like in terms of the pressure, it was fantastic. You know, it really just felt like everyone was there, giving you a little push all the way around. And then crossing the line, you know, you kind of do everything in the Olympics to tell yourself it's not the Olympics. It's just like any other race. You train as hard as you can, prepare as well as you can. It's just like any other day doing a triathlon and running to the end of it. And then you cross the line and you think, oh, you know, it can picture that as the Olympics, and then it was obviously fantastic. And, yeah, it's like anything like that, you know, you aim for it for, I knew the Olympics was in London for 6, 7, 8 years, and so that was an aim for all that time, and to actually achieve it, which is fantastic.
Well, those of you who follow triathlon will know that Alistair's younger brother, Johnny, was third in the Olympic triathlon, won the bronze medal. We wanted to invite Jonathan to come here, but as you know, we only invite Olympic and world champions, so he didn't quite make the grade. But clearly, triathlon is in Alistair's family. Alistair, a question about your training. Most of us here don't know anything about triathlon. I know that when Haile and Edna, when they're training hard, they might go and do a 35-kilometre run on the road, and then later in the day, I might say you see Haile in the gym. Just could you describe to us what's a typical hard training day for an Olympic triathlon champion?
Plus, whenever beach weapons are very good running, and cycling I can't. Swimming that is very difficult.
Okay, so the most difficult one, mentally to do is swimming, because you know, you dive in the pool, you're swimming up and down. Yeah, and it's mentally tough. You know, it's not like being out running where you enjoy the environment and you know, running with your mates, doing the social aspect of it, whatever. It's mentally really tough to do, and you have to do it from being really young as well. It's a real technique.
Just talk us through a training day, though. You get up at, I mean, 6 o'clock in the morning, or how does your day work, your training day?
Well, every day's a bit different. If I'm training really hard, it might be 35 hours in a week. A day might be get up at 6:30, swim, maybe an hour and a quarter, hour and a half. If it's the longest possible day I do, so like the triathlon equivalent of a long run could be a longish run in the morning, 75 minutes, 3.5 to 4 hours on the bike, and then an evening run as well. But that's what I'll do that once a week every so often, so that's a really long day. And then that's like a running program, you mix it up with days where sessions which are a bit lighter in terms of hours, and other days which are heavy in terms of hours again.
So, in terms of your running performance, I mean, your best time for 10,000 metres, which is the distance you run at the end of the triathlon, is 28 minutes and 32 seconds. Now, in this audience, I can say that's a pretty ordinary time. It's more than a minute slower than Gilbert's best time, and even Gilbert's not world class in Kenya. But the amazing thing is that you're the best time of 28 minutes and 32 seconds, but at the end of a 1,500 metre swim and a 40-kilometre ride, how fast do you do it in?
Well, this is always a bone of contention, because people never say triathlon courses are accurate. But the Olympic split, which I'm told was accurate, was 29:07. But I did that when, that was me being as fit as I could be. Where the 28:32 I wasn't, I reckon, I wasn't quite in the Olympic shape. But you never know, the triathlon isn't necessarily about the time, it's about beating the people around you. And I'd love to know how accurate some of those courses are. If you see a triathlon, it has to be true.
Because you're obviously looking forward to defending your title, which I'm sure Haile will tell you, Edna will tell you from Moscow, is a really tough thing to do. But how important is it that you become faster as a runner within those 3 disciplines as you prepare towards Rio?
Yeah, it is very important. Obviously, as an athlete, you always want to move forward and be the best you can be and see how far you can improve. And I think the sport is right, it is moving forward. It's a young sport that just seems to get better every year, so it's important to be a faster runner. The courses vary a lot, so whereas in London I was preparing for a course where it could have been almost a very little effect on the swim and the bikes. It's very flat, running there in a very, very fast and flat run, whereas in Rio it's going to probably a bit more biased towards the swim and the bike because of the hard swim in the waves and the hard bike, so it might actually swing a bit out of very, very fast running, but you still want to be running fast as you can. Because at the end of the day, that's where you're going to win and lose the race. You could be in a pack of 40 or you could be in a pack of 4, and it's still going to be where you win or lose.
Great. Well, one thing that some of you might be interested to know, particularly if you're taking part on Sunday, is that we have, alongside Edna, we have 4 Ethiopians who will be starting the race. And all of those 4 Ethiopians have won 2 Olympic gold medals. So Haile will be there, Duratu will be there, Kenenisa will be there, sorry, at least 2 gold medals. Kenenisa will be there, and Meseret Adefar will be there. So if you are a participant, do make sure that you give Haile and Duratu and Meseret and Kenenisa a wave. And Edna will be also alongside Haile at the start of the race. The great news for us is that Alistair will be participating on Sunday, so he'll be, I think, in the masses. Haile, final word of advice for Alistair taking part in the Great Ethiopian Run?
I think it's no advice. You run 28 minutes for a 10K. Don't run fast. But it's a Addison, just 2,500 meters above sea level. In the first part, it's a little bit, just hard, not hard actually, because you've been in just altitude training and don't worry. And try to start as a tactic. You can't finish it. No swimming, no bike, only taking.
Great. Well, we're going to have a very, very short break. When I say a short break, I mean a 60-second break. That is an opportunity for the photographers to come to the platform now and take a picture of Haile, Edna and Alistair. At the end of that minute, the Great Ethiopian Run team will ask you to take your seats, and we still have an important part of the programme remaining. So could the photographers come forward, take the pictures, and then we will proceed with the final 10 minutes of the press conference. Thank you.